Home improvement projects are exciting, especially when you're getting something new for your home. Getting a new heating, ventilation, air conditioning system, HVAC system, it can be exciting. But the question is, how am I going to pay for that? So I've asked Brandon to join me from Daycool. Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing great. So there's always the question. Hey, Brandon is great. I love the quote. I want to get this installed. Um, how can I pay you? What are my options? So what are they?
Well, we have several. You could pay with cash, check, card, or financing. We find most commonly people are financing nowadays. It makes sense to use somebody else's money if you
It
can with no
can,
interest.
it can with low interest rates.
Yeah.
People often buy their homes through a mortgage. That's of course deferring, right? And often they lease a car or buy a car on payments. And when you're talking about getting the right air conditioning system and heating system, you want to not go cheap, right? You want to make sure when it's time to replace, you replace with something that you really want and need. You can go with a very inexpensive system, but it's not necessarily the best for you and your house. And some people will shop because, on the dollar. They're like, well, I want to go with the least expensive one because I don't want to spend a lot of money. But when it comes to your home's health and your health and the longevity of the system, I think it makes sense to go with the right system. Some of these systems today, variable speed units, they're higher tech, but they don't use as much power. They make sure they get the humidity out properly. There's a great balance. And you're going to pay more for that, a higher SEER unit. It's going to be more expensive, but it's going to be a better product. And you shouldn't let price get in the way. So the financing option, Brandon's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the first things we try to ask people is like, how long do you plan to be in this home? If it's 5 years, you're not going to get a return on investment if you're spending more
Mm.
for some variable speed piece of equipment, and you're never going to benefit really from the return. Unless it's comfort, that's what's really good about a variable speed is you can control comfort a lot. Um, but we have different plans that you can still buy that top tier piece of equipment, and the payments can be about the same. You'll have different interest rates, but they're designed for that reason. There's rebates on higher SEER equipment, like our train equipment. You have different finance rates through certain companies. Like I think Train we use in Wells Fargo. They partner, which allows us to
Yeah.
partner with them. And you can benefit from that even if you're doing a 0% for 12 months and then refinance it at the end. We can usually get somebody in with no money down.
Yeah, it's really the way to go. Like I said before, as a homeowner, you don't want to cheat yourself on certain things. You should have a vehicle, car or truck that is safe and reliable. Don't just have a beater that you're not sure if it'll get you to work or break down on the freeway, right? You want a vehicle that's going to be safe and reliable. Same
Right.
thing with your air conditioning unit. I feel the same way about my bed. I've recently invested in a bed that costs way more money than I've ever spent before, but I spend about a third of my life in that thing. And
Yeah.
sleep is important. So, food, safety, convenience, something a lot of people don't really think about, Brandon, and I know you and I do a lot, is it's not just how warm or cool we can get our house, but there's also the overall climate. There's the humidity aspect, and the HVAC system is in charge for the most part in regulating the humidity, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so the better the system, generally, the better the climate in the house.
Yep. I mean, everything from air quality to humidity,
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah. And the better the quality of the air in the home, the better the investment. So you're taking care of your home. Your home's hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why wouldn't you want it to last longer? But maybe even more importantly, you and your family are living in that home. I just said that I sleep about 8 hours and I sleep in my home. So people are probably in their house at least 12 hours a day.
Yep.
That's a lot of time to be uncomfortable and have an unhealthy house. So
More
I think it's
high power bill, utility bill.
absolutely, yeah. I'm glad we got on today because I don't think a lot of people think about the other side of it. They're like, I need a solution. Let me go with the least expensive one because price is an issue. But you brought up the fact that it's not an issue. Yes, you can write a check, cash, credit card, or if you need to, there's convenient financing options, and that's a great idea.
Yeah. You know, with the refrigerant change coming up, everything's going up. You know, I want to say it's like a 14% increase in equipment costs. So nowadays, I think most people are realizing you're almost going to have a HVAC note like you do a car note because everything's so dang expensive. And it makes it more affordable without affecting normal life.
Mm-hmm. But things have changed with technology. When I was young, we didn't have a phone for each person. We had a phone for the house, right? And so we're used to paying higher communication bills.
Uh-huh.
I'm so old. I'm before cable. Okay. So, you know, we had an antenna on the roof of the house. We only had 3-4 channels we could watch, but we didn't have to pay for it. Today, people pay for a lot of entertainment. And so the expectations of, even when I was a kid, my parents used to pay cash for cars. People don't do that anymore. It's just, you know, we live in these big houses and we have huge mortgages. It's just part of our culture now. The good news is you don't have to cheat yourself on your air conditioning system. When I was young, the AC system was really basic. That's if you even had one. Now in the South, of course, we need them. Other parts of the country, they're becoming more popular. But when I was young, not everyone had them up north. And even in the South here, we didn't have advanced systems. Yes, it turned on. Yes, it cooled, and yes, it pulled humidity out. But it wasn't that scientific, was it? It was just basic, on, off, on, off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now's the time to get into a new one. All of Brandon's information is located in the show notes. Don't hesitate to reach out to him. Brandon, as always, thank you for being the expert here on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.